What is going on, you guys? It's that RoboBitch Siri or Alexa, and I'm back to give you the next Windows software update.
The fuck you say to me, you little shit?
Please insert the USB stick into your butthole.
You shut up when I'm talking to you. You shut your mouth.
Happy New Year, GNU-tards. I'm back with more Linux content since I'm stress testing the YouTube algorithm.
I do as the
algorithm
guides.
Anyway, my original idea for this video was to make one of those S through F tier list videos, but for operating systems. But upon thinking about it some more, I came to an interesting realization. Unlike most other things, like breakfast cereals, meals for assisted suicide, normie brain fodder, all of these follow a normal distribution, also sometimes called the bell curve, where you have most things are clustered towards the middle, with fewer entries as you approach either extreme. However, for operating system, I propose that they actually follow an inverse normal distribution, where you're either a dirty little corpo capitalist soy boy doing your computing in a dumpster fire, or you're a red-pilled Sigma Giga Chad. I call it based or waste. Hey, wait a minute, what about women? Well, first off, YouTube says that literally 0 women watch my videos.
Bruh.
Second, we all know that they just use Mac. I'm kidding, but not really. And you're probably thinking, is this guy really going to make this whole video just to shit on Windows users? Why does he even hate Windows users so much, and why not these Apple people? Well, to answer your second 2 questions, I'll save those for the end of the video, because there's more I want to say. But for your first question, yeah, pretty much just taking pot shots at Windows. The other interesting thing about operating systems that follow this inverse distribution is that people in each of these bubbles love bickering amongst themselves, the nuances and caveats that make what they use the best. But what they fail to realize is that you're either on the right side of history, bickering amongst the victors about semantics instead of relishing in your superiority, or you are a complete fucking moron arguing with another complete fucking moron. The good news is that you get to choose. And by all means, the discussion in the base bubble can roll on. But remember, the next time you're on Reddit trolling an Ubuntu user for asking a dumb question, you're both still Chads. And that might not be stupidity talking, it's dementia. Because you're shaming the graybeard that wrote the operating system who's been using it longer than you've been alive. That being said, it's more likely you're shaming an autistic 14-year-old who knows more about computer anatomy than female anatomy. So please, carry on. Anyway, with that long intro out of the way, I chose 16 popular or interesting operating systems to rank because it's a power of 2 and it seemed like a reasonable number to keep this video watchable. I'm also going to be doing some grouping that will piss people off, but listen, everybody thinks that their OS is the best and everybody in this section is correct. Everyone else, like I said, is a fucking moron. Alright, first up, my personal operating system of choice, Arch Linux and all its varieties, Manjaro, Artix, EndeavourOS, all of them. These are all obviously based. Now, a slightly more advanced DIY distro than Arch is Gentoo, which is probably a bit overkill for most normal computer users, but very much still in the based category. Now, for an even more advanced distro, is actually just rolling your own. That's right. Linux from scratch, which is really more of a part-time job than it is running an OS, but you're pretty much guaranteed to be a graybeard if you're in this category, and you do not want to be arguing with someone here about anything, unless you also rolled your own distro, at which point both of you just stop arguing. It's your autism speaking anyway. Next, to put something into the waste category, I'll start in the pretty garden of Tim Cook's gulag, macOS. I'm not going to bother with all the different versions, whether it's Big Surveillance or Yosemite's nuts in your mouth. They're all pretty much the same. So to keep this part short, into the waste it goes. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and toss an iOS in there with it. For both of these OSs, it's less to do with the actual computing experience than it's about a larger philosophical difference in value. But I'll talk about that more at the end of the video. This one's actually interesting because on principle, GNU/Linux distributions automatically go into the base tier. But this is a classic example of corporate OSS hijacking something great and turning it into a fucking McDonald's. So this is actually going to go into the waste tier. It just stinks of bureaucracy. Now back to the base side of things. This one's easy. It's almost got based in the name. And in here you can also toss in other security first distros like Tails, CubesOS, and Kali Linux, which is my favorite of the bunch. I'll get a lot of shit if I don't mention this one, but I lovingly refer to it as just Diet Arch. But it's actually got a great package manager and great interoperability between other NIC systems, so very much in the base tier. Now for this next one. Full disclosure, I've never even actually used this one, and it's not even really that popular, but it's Libre licensed, so it's based. This next one's hilarious. I can't even believe this exists. Chrome OS. And I mean, I joke a lot about Windows being just a bootloader for Chrome, but this is literally a bootloader for Chrome. They took Gentoo and they fucking ruined it in a hilarious way. I really don't have any other words for this other than it's complete waste. No question. Also, I want to make sure the difference is known here. I'm not talking about the open source Chromium. I'm talking about the closed sourced Chrome OS that they use in a lot of schools, which just makes it plain evil. Next up, we have Android, which is open source, right? So it's based. Well, actually, no. The Android project is a Libre open source project, but the Android operating system that's installed onto like 99% of Android phones with the Google Play Store is not Libre. It's got Google's juices and secrets all over it, and almost nobody bothers to de-Google these phones anyway and get that shit off the OS. So don't be mistaken. Android is a waste OS. Now, if we're talking about Libre forks of Android like Graphene OS and Lineage OS, these are definitely in the base tier. And any fork of the Android project with a proper Libre license is definitely in the base tier. Lucky number 13, you guessed it, Microsoft Windows. Now, I could slice up Windows Vista, XP, 3, 7, 8, 10, 11, but let's just be frank. Windows XP and maybe Windows 7 was the last sliver of decent, even performance-wise, before they perfected the art of computer bloat and mastered consent, taught by Jeffrey Epstein himself. I have strong opinions on this, so stick around to the end of the video if you're curious. But this OS is utter and complete garbage, and take this as a sign from the universe telling you that if you're using Windows, stop. Now, I'm going to get a lot of shit for combining these all into one, but I'm going to say all other Debian or Ubuntu-based GNU/Linux distributions are based. No matter how weird it is, whether it's the satanic version of Ubuntu or Hannah Montana OS, whatever, it's weird, but it's based. Now for these last two, these are really bonuses that belong into their own tier of what I call at least it's not Windows. First, we have Temple OS. Now, if you haven't heard of this one before, oh man, it's a doozy. So there's this guy, Terry Davis, who was an electrical engineer turned schizo, convinced that the Christian God himself was telling him to write an operating system in under 120,000 lines of code, so as to become the second kingdom of Christ's temple in an operating system. Well, the motherfucker invented his own fork of the C language called Holy C and did exactly that. He built an entire OS from nothing. And he's the author of unironically one of my favorite quotes: "An idiot admires complexity, a genius admires simplicity." Now, he had a few other quotes that weren't as tasteful, and he loved using the N-word for some reason, but this still goes down as one of, if not the most impressive individual feat of programming in history. I'm not sure if you can daily drive Temple OS unless you're a televangelist or you're both autistic and schizophrenic, but hey, at least it's not Windows. For that, I'll still toss it in based. Now last, and probably least too, is another meme OS called Red Star OS, created by the North Korea Friendship Organization. I'm pretty sure encryption of any kind is banned on this, and you have to write everything through government servers, but hey, at least it's not Windows, but it's going to go in the waste category. Sorry, Kim. So there you have it, folks. That is my based or waste tier list for operating systems. If you want the spaghetti python code I wrote for this, I'll put it in the description. Okay, so now for the post commentary as promised. So first off, why am I so hostile towards Windows and their users? Well, like many, I grew up having only known Windows and Mac, and after getting a super late start into computers, I got my first sheet of toilet paper and I finally felt like I was tech literate. Well, fast forward a bit later and my Adobe subscription is expiring and I'm left with two options. I can chop off one of my nuts and submit to a lifetime of servitude, or I can invest into something cheaper and switch to one of those free alternatives. So that's how I discovered GIMP, which is the free Libre/CAD version of Photoshop. And once I got the hang of it, I could not believe that I didn't pay any money for this and that the people who made this just enjoy writing good software that works and helps people. So then it wasn't long after that I stumbled upon the philosophy of Libre software. And I honestly just could not believe that I had been putting up with getting penny, nickeled, and dimed to death for software that sucks, is just milking me for my data, and worst of all, that I was actually happy about using. And the more I challenged my computing habits, the more I found myself trapped in this neutered cage of willful ignorance. I realized I didn't know a fucking thing about computers at all. I just knew how to open up Chrome. So since then, I've been trying to speedrun learning what there actually is to know about computers and the internet, only to discover infinitely more things that I don't know anything about. So really, I hate Windows because they made me feel smart when I should have felt really stupid. And sure, not everything is actually Windows' fault, but in my eyes, it represents both an embarrassing part of my past, as well as a direction of technology that I think is fundamentally at odds with human flourishing. So fuck them. Now to address the Apple fanboys. So first, I'll submit, the quality of their products are generally pretty good. The hardware specs in their laptops are solid, and their accessories like their AirPods are pretty good too, I can't deny that. The real issue I have with their ecosystem and the users is that they don't negotiate. It's either user experience or go fuck yourself. All the Apple disciples who have their heads so far up the ghost of Steve Jobs' ass only ever talk about the immediate shininess, whatever new product they're overcharging for. Nothing else. And don't get me wrong, I like having a shiny new user interface, but it's not the only thing I care about when it comes to my computing. I care about my data privacy even if I'm not shoving drugs up my ass. I care about actually being in control of the software and the hardware of my computer. I like being in control of when to upgrade something and not just whenever they brick my old device. So with Apple products, you get a nice user interface and a nice user experience, but at the expense of any privacy you dream of having. You pay whatever price that they want, you run whatever software they want you and allow you to run, and they'll make you upgrade whenever they want by bricking your old devices when you haven't given them money in a while. It's a trade-off I had hoped most people would reject, even if things aren't as shiny over here in the free world of Linux. But when the products and the users and the companies don't negotiate, it might as well be terrorists. You already know what they say about negotiating with them. This is also why I'm still single, because I won't even think about talking to a girl that's covered head to toe in Apple gear. I also really don't want to talk to a girl who runs Linux, so single it is. As a closing remark for those interested, this video was edited on Linux using Shotcut. And if you want any of the memes, beats, or materials I used, I'm actively trying to Libre license my life, so check out my GitLab and hit me up if you want anything. I'll try what I can to help. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Good morning, everybody! You already know what I'm about to be on, so I don't give a fuck about nothing you other motherfucker. Yo, like, what the fuck is you doing, bro?